I spent 7 long years being the ultimate supportive wingman for the girl I was completely hopelessly in love with, and I honestly thought I was going to take that secret to my grave, until last night. Chloe and I met during our sophomore year at NYU. She was a whirlwind of chaotic energy, always running late and always dating the absolute worst guys imaginable. I was the quiet, predictable guy from Ohio who actually read the syllabus. We made 0 sense on paper, but for whatever reason, we just clicked. I realized I loved her on a freezing Tuesday in November. We were studying in the library and she fell asleep on her textbook. I remember just watching her breathe. It sounds totally cliche, I know, but in that exact moment, my world shifted. I was completely, utterly done for. But there was a major, glaring problem. Chloe had a very specific type. She liked tortured artists and brooding musicians who ghosted her after 3 weeks. I drove a sensible, boring sedan. I knew with absolute certainty that if I ever told her how I felt, I would lose her. She'd get weirded out, she'd pull away, and our friendship would be over. So I made a choice, a painful, deliberate choice. I locked my feelings in a mental vault, threw away the key, and decided to be the absolute best friend she could ever possibly ask for. And I was good at it. Man, was I good at it. When she cried over the bass player who cheated on her, I was the one who bought her premium ice cream and let her vent for hours. When she dragged me to some underground indie concert, I stood in the back holding her coat, making sure she got home safe. I mastered the art of the supportive smile. I learned how to say, you deserve so much better, without ever adding, you deserve someone like me. After graduation, we moved to Chicago together. We split a tiny, overpriced apartment in Lincoln Park. Living with her was pure, unadulterated torture. It was amazing and it was agonizing, all at the same exact time. I loved waking up to the smell of her burnt toast. I loved our Sunday morning routines on her beat-up sofa. But whenever she got ready for a date, it felt like someone was twisting a knife in my gut. I'd force a tearful smile, tell her she looked gorgeous, and then wait up until 2 in the morning, just to ensure she got home safely. I convinced myself this was enough. I told myself that being in her life, even just as a background character, was better than not being in it at all. I really truly believed I'd accepted my fate. But then, about 3 weeks ago, the script completely flipped. She started acting different. It was subtle at first. She broke up with her latest boyfriend, but she didn't even shed a tear. She didn't want to talk about it. In fact, she stopped talking about guys entirely. Then she started lingering. When I'd cook dinner, she wouldn't just sit at the counter, she'd stand right next to me, close enough that our shoulders brushed. Whenever we watched movies, she'd curl up against my side and stay there long after the credits rolled. She started looking at me, really looking at me, with this heavy, intense gaze that made my heart hammer against my ribs. I told myself I was projecting my own pathetic desires onto her. And then came last night. It was pouring rain outside, we had ordered deep dish pizza, and we were sitting on the living room floor. She was mid-sentence talking about her crazy boss, and she just stopped. Dead silence. She put her slice of pizza down, she pulled her knees to her chest, staring at her hands for a long agonizing minute. "Mark," she whispered. Her voice was shaking. I slowly asked her what was wrong. She looked up, and her eyes were filled with tears. "I've been so blind," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have spent years chasing these wild, chaotic sparks because I thought that was what love was supposed to feel like. But every time everything fell apart, the only place I ever actually wanted to be was right here, with you. I was frozen. I think I'm in love with you," she finally blurted out. "And I am terrified because I don't want to ruin us, but I can't keep pretending. For 7 years, I had rehearsed every possible scenario. I had built a fortress around my heart, and now she was sitting there, entirely vulnerable, handing me the exact thing I had spent my entire adult life desperately wanting, and I couldn't even form a single coherent word.